Hello guys, welcome back to the Pepcoding. So in this video, we are going to discuss our next question, that is longest subarray with sum divisible by k. So in this question, we have given this type of array and k. So k is 7 for this array, and we need to tell that, let's say for example, from this to this, when we are taking the sum of all the elements that are present from this range, and that sum divided by k gives us 0 as a remainder, then we need to return its length. So we need to find the maximum length of the sub array. That sum is divisible by k. uh, if its remainder is 0, then we need to return its length. So for example, this sub array gives some length, that is 5 length, and this sub array also gives its sum is divisible by k and its length something. So we need to return this length of the sub array. So for solving this question, let's say sum so far for this element gives us x as a remainder. Okay, and sum so far for these two element is gives also x remainder. So though these two remainder is same, if these two remainder is same, let's say someone when k is multiplied with m, it gives us x remainder, and sum 2 when k is multiplied with n, it gives x remainder. So if the x both remainder is same, then this s2 minus s1 that is k into n minus m is gives when we are taking the sum of this element, we are calculating the sum of this element and dividing this with k, it gives the remainder as 0. So let's pass over the again what we say let's pass over this array. Firstly, for when the value is in negative, we need to make sure that it is let's say we are solving this question in the positive integers, positive remainders only. So we need to take care of that negative remainders. So let's say let's pass over this array. So for the first time, our sum is 0 and the remainder is also 0. Okay, and for solving this question, we are going to use a map. Okay, so first pass over this. So sum so far for this element is 2, and remainder is, when we are dividing this 2 or by 5, the remainder will be 2. Now 2 is not 2 is present for the first time. So our sum 1 is gives x remainder as a 2. Okay, let's pass over. You can understand easily. You can get this problem easily. 2 plus 4 is 6. Next sum for this point is 6, and when we are dividing this 6 with k, then it gives 1 as a remainder. 1 is comes also first time. When let's calculate sum for 6 plus 8, that is 14, and the remainder is 4. Okay, now let's calculate the sum for the 14 plus 1, that is 15, and the remainder is 0. So from this to this, the sum of the all the elements is divisible by k. So we can say that sum 1 gives us x remainder, and the sum 2 is also gives us x element. The x are same, the remainders are same here. So s2 minus s1 length, the s2 minus s1 length gives us a sum of a numbers of the all the elements that are present in that range of that sum is divisible by k. So 2 plus 4, 6 plus 8, 14, and plus 1, 15. So 15 is divided by 5. It gives us 0 as a remainder. Okay, let's pass over this. Okay, okay. So 15 plus 7, 22. Okay, and it gives when we divide this sum by k, it gives us 2 as a remainder. So 2 is repeated. Remainder 2 is repeated here. So we are saying that sum 1 x is equal to sum 2 is x, also x. That means x is same. That remainder is same for this. So we can say that s2 minus s1 when we are calculating the sum of this range 4 to 7, dividing this by k, it gives 0 as remainder. Let's calculate. 4 plus 8, 12 plus 1, 13 plus 7, 20. When we are dividing this by k, it gives a remainder to us as a 0. Okay, so let's pass over this. Okay, now 22 plus 3, 25. Okay, and at this point our length is 4, so we are updating 4. Firstly, we got our sum at this point, and the length was 4 at that time, and from this to this also length was 4. Now we are calculating sum, that is 22 plus 3, that is 25, and we got remainder as a 0. Let's say someone gives x remainder, that is 0. Sum 2 also gives x remainder, that is also 0, and sum 3 gives x remainder, that is also 0. So from this point to this point, from 2 to 3, 2 to 3, this length, in between this length, when we are calculating sum in between this length, our sum will be 25. From 2 to 3, 25 divided by 5 also gives us 0 remainder. When we are calculating sum of this from this to this, that is sum 2, sum 3. Sum 3 minus sum 2, this is the range sum 2 minus sum 3 minus sum 2. Okay, and this is the range. When we are calculating the sum of this range, that is 7 plus 3, that is 10, equals to 10. When we are dividing this number by k, it gives 0 as a remainder also. Okay, now we have the maximum length of a sub array, so we need to update that with 5. Now we got new sub array that's length is 5, and when we are calculating sum of all the elements that are present in between that range and dividing this by number by k, then our remainder will be 0. Okay, now adding 6 into 25, so it is 31, and the remainder is 1. Okay, so remainder is 1. So at this point remainder is 1, and at this point also. So this is the s2 minus s1, and let's calculate the sum of this. 8 plus 1, 9, plus 7, 16, plus 3, 19, plus it is 25. Okay, 25 divided by 5, it gives 0 as a remainder. So the length of this is also same. So let's pass over this with the help of hash map. Okay, so we are using map here. Map contains the key of map is the remainder, and the value of that map is the indexes. So remainder versus indexes. Okay, now let's pass over this array. So for 2 sum, remainder is 2, and it is at -1. Firstly, it is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, 10, 11. Okay, so we got our remainder 2 at 0th index. So remainder 2 at the 0th index. We are setting that 0 remainder at -1. Firstly, 2 at 0th index. Okay, adding this number, making it 6, and 1 index, 1 remainder. It is not come before that. Now we got 1 at the first time, so 1 remainder at index 1. Adding these two, we got 14. Okay, and the remainder is 4 at the second index. So our remainder 4, we got that in at second index. Adding this 15. Okay, we got our remainder is 0. When our remainder is 0, then we can say that the length of from this to this, okay, this length we got when we are adding all the element in between that range and dividing this by k, then we got a remainder as a 0. Okay, now for the 0 at 3 level, okay, 0 at 3, so we are in saying that -1 -1 -1 -1 plus 3, it is 4. Okay, so the length of our sub array is 4 at this time. Now again calculating for this. 15 plus 7, 22. Remainder was 2, and we got that remainder at 4th index. Now saying that at this point we got 2, at this point also we got 2. So in between these two, if we are taking if we are talking about this range and adding calculating sum of the all the elements that is present in between this range and dividing this by k, then we got 0 as a remainder. Now calculating sum for this 25. Now at this point we got 0 again. So from this point to this point, okay, this is the new subarray, the new length subarray we got, and when we are dividing the sum of by k, then we got 0. So updating our length as a 5. Again calculating sum, so it gives us 31. Okay, and the remainder was 1. At the 6th index, again we got 1. We are calculating its what we are saying length of the subarray. We got 1 at this point, and another again we got 1 at this point. So this is the array. When we are calculating sum of this array and divide this by k, we got 0 as a remainder. So from this to this, the length is 6 minus 1 5. So length of this array is 5. So we don't want to don't need to update that because it is already 5. This is our answer. Okay, now at this point 32 and our remainder was 2 at the 7th index. Okay, we got 2 at 0th index. So from this point to this point, this is the point S1, this is the point S2, and this is the point S3. When we are calculating the sum of the all element that is present in between 0 to 7th index and divide this by k, then we got 0 as a remainder. So now our range is increases. So 7 minus 0 is 7. So our subarray range is 7 at this point. Now let's remove this. Okay, 2 S3 S. Okay, this is also. Now our length of this is 7. Now okay, updating the value 32 plus 9 41, and the remainder was 1. Or we got 1 at the 8th index and at the 1st index. From this point to this point, when we are calculating sum in between the 2nd index to 8th index, and when we are dividing this number with k, then we got 0 as a remainder. So 8 minus 2 6, and we can't update our answer. Okay, updating value 41 plus 2, that is 43, and the remainder was 3 at the 9th index. So first time the 3 was here, the remainder. Okay, and it got us at a 9th index. So at this point, sum of these two 50 and remainder is 0. Now we are calculating the remainder from 0 to this 0, and the length of this is 10. So we need to update this as a 10. Okay, after that calculating sum of this, which is the 53, and the remainder is 3, then it is got us at the point 11, index 11. Okay, so we are taking these two sum, that is 7 plus 3, that is 10 divided by 5. It is also got us 0 as a remainder, but we can't update that because it is only two sides, and the array we got when we are calculating its sum and dividing this by k, then we got our 0 as a remainder. So we are going to use a map here, but we need to also make sure that it is when the value is in negative. Let's calculate the sum for that, and the remainder also. It is at -1 index. It is 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 and 7. Okay, the sum of this -3 and the remainder is also -3. Sum of these two -12, remainder is 7 minus 5. Sum of this -16 and the remainder is -2. Sum of this -8 and the remainder is -1. Sum of this -3 and the remainder is also -3. Sum of these two -3 plus 1 and the remainder is also +1. Sum of these 3 and the remainder is also 3. Sum of these two 3 plus 6 is 9 and the remainder is 2. Okay, at this point when our remainder is negative, then we are writing some code. If our remainder is negative, then we are adding the k into that remainder. Okay, so what happened when we are adding the minus 3 plus 7, our k, that gives us a 4. Let's draw a number line. Is 0, on the left side of 0 all are negative values, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, minus 5, minus 6, minus 7. Okay, and all the plus values from this side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Okay, now our minus 3 is present at fourth length from the minus 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, minus 7 is present, minus 3 is present on the right side of the minus 7 at the fourth length, that is 1, 2, 3, fourth length. Okay, and if we are adding remainder plus 7, that is gives us 4, and our 4 is also present from 0 to 4, it is also present on the same length. When we are calculating the length between minus 3 and plus 4, it is equals to 4. Sorry, it is equals to k. That means 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. It is equal to k. It is equal to 7. Okay, so we can modify this value, remainder value, as updating that with the k, and it gives us a 4. So let's remove this, and now if we are updating this minus value with plus k, then minus 3 plus 7, it is 4, minus 5 plus 7, 2, minus 2 plus 7, 5, minus 1 plus 7, 6 and minus 3 plus 7, 4. So now we got 4 out 2 times. So from this point to this point, our sum of x is remainder is 4, and from this point to this point our s2 gives x remainder, that is also equals to 4. So we are calculating the value in between this range. So minus 9 minus 4, that gives us minus 13, plus 8 minus 5 plus 0. So 0 divided by 7, that gives 0 as a remainder to us. Okay, and we are calculating its length, that is it is present at 4, it is present at 0, so the length of this subarray is 4. Okay, after that let's remove this from this. Okay, after that we got 2 as a repeated here, so s1 at this point of x and s2 of x is same, so remainder is same for s1 and s2. So this is the subarray, that when we are calculating the sum of this subarray, this array, and after dividing this with the k, we got 0 as a remainder. So minus 4 plus 8 plus 4 plus 5, it is 5, not a 50. Okay, so plus 4 plus 5, 9 plus 4, 13 plus 2, 15 plus 6, 21. So 21 divided by 7, it is equal to 3, and the remainder we got as a 0. So when we are calculating its length, 7 minus 2, it is 7 minus 1, it is 6. So our we got our new answer and the new subarray. That's when we are calculating sum of that subarray and divide this by k, we got 0 as a remainder. So this is the approach to solve this question. So from this we are going to start with the code. So let's start with the code and let's change with the Java. Okay, so let me do full screen and increasing the bright font size. Okay, so we need a map that contains the key versus value, that key contains remainder and the value contains the indexes. So HashMap of integer comma integer, and this map contains, let's initializing it first. Okay, and we need to find the answer also. So answer is 0 for the first time and returning the answer from this point. So first we want to calculate the sum. Okay, after that we want to calculate the remainder, it is firstly 0. Okay, now we are putting this value map dot put remainder versus minus 1 for the first time. at the first time when we are at -1 the index, then we are saying that 0 is present at the -1 index. Okay, now traversing over the array. I is starting from 0, I is less than array dot length. Okay, and I plus plus I plus plus. Now calculating sum. So sum is equal to sum plus equals to array of I. Now calculating the remainder. So divide modulo sum modulo k here, and if our remainder is negative, then we are updating our remainder plus equals to k. Okay, after that we need to check is our map contains this remainder. If our map contains this remainder, is else. If it is not contained, then we need to push that map dot put remainder versus the I, that is index. Okay, if it is present, then we are calculating its index. Index is map dot get what, that remainder, the index that are present, that as the key is the remainder. We are finding that index. Okay, and after that finding the length. The length is I minus idx. Okay, and if our this length is greater than our answer, then updating our answer as a length. Okay, after that this, and we are returning our answer from this point. So this is the full code. Let's try to run it. So it is run for the sample test case. Let's try to submit it. Will it be run for all the test cases or not? So here all the test cases are passed. Okay, now let's discuss this code. Okay, from this point to this point, at the last we are returning the answer. So firstly we are initializing our answer as a 0, and the map hash map, that hash map contains remainder versus the indexes. Okay, so firstly we are saying that our sum is 0, remainder is 0, and we are putting the for the 0 remainder -1 index. Okay, now we are starting iterate traversing over the array. Okay, sorry. Okay, sum, calculating its sum. So we are calculating sum, calculating the remainder. If it is less than, then we are adding the k into that remainder. Now we are checking. Let's say our array is 5 2 3 4 7. Okay, 7, and we got again 0 and 0. Firstly we got 0 at -1 index. Okay, this is the array, and we got 0 at this point for the k is something. Okay, so we are checking is map contains remainder, is map contains 0. Okay, it contains 0, so give me the index. So its index is -1. Okay, we are calculating length with the idx I minus idx. So idx is 1 0 2 3 4. So 4 minus idx is -1, so it gives us 5 as a length, and we are checking is our 5 is greater than 0. Yes, it is. So we are updating our answer as a 5 and returning answer from this point. Okay, if it is the maximum that are satisfy our condition, then we are returning the answer from this point. Okay, so this is the code and dry run of this code. So I hope you understand the question and the solution of this question. Thank you for watching.